guys, welcome back for another video on my channel. Today I thought I would talk all about designer dupes. So I've actually got a whole bunch of shoe dupes here, as well as a few clothing and accessory items, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this video. You know the drill, everything's going to be linked down in the description box below. A lot of these items I don't actually own, but I have found them and they're all more high quality items, so things that are made out of natural fibers as opposed to synthetics. I know that you can find lots of dupes on places like Shein, however I have to say manufacturing on that is probably quite questionable, as is the quality. So these ones here, I know the brands are good quality and they will be items that you can buy as something that you will have for years, as opposed to something you could only wear for a season until it falls apart. So the first thing I want to talk about is a pair of shoes from Dior. So these are the Dior J'adore slingbacks. I actually finally splurged on these as part of my autumn wardrobe and I am so smitten with them. I had been wanting to purchase these for a while. Obviously these are quite expensive. They are more than $1,000. I didn't pay that, don't worry. But if you would like to get the look for less, there is a brand called Linea Paolo which does an incredible dupe for them. I'm gonna pop that on the side of the screen here. And instead of being fabric, they're actually all leather and they're all the one color, but I think they're a very chic alternative to these. I have previously owned the nude pair of the heel version of those shoes, which actually featured in my previous video like this, which I'm going to link up here if you'd like to go and check that out. And the quality of them is just divine. It's a really nice smooth buttery leather, so I can definitely speak to how they will feel when you buy them. They have some really nice colors as well. There's a very beautiful nude option, which I think would be a really good alternative to these and a great way that you can get that look for less. Next I wanted to talk about another really iconic shoe, this time from Valentino, and it's their Valentino rock stud heels. I have owned these in the past, both in the 10cm version and also the kitten heel version, and I just found that I never wore them because of how expensive they were, and I was just too worried that I was going to ruin them. If you would like a really great looking alternative that basically gives you that same designer look but at a much lower price point, DSW has a really good pair. I'm gonna keep the photo here on the screen so you can see. It's very heavily inspired by the real thing, and I think if you were wearing them from afar, people wouldn't even be able to tell the difference that you're actually wearing a cheaper option. The next pair of shoes that I wanted to share a dupe for are the Cocotte Mules. These have been around for a few years now and they are horrendously expensive. I want to say in Australia they would probably set you back around $1,300, so a lot of money to pay for a pair of shoes, which is essentially a little slip-on. I found a really great option which I actually ended up adding to my autumn wardrobe, and they're from Bianco, and they are these ones here. So instead of being, I suppose, I think this is just a plain leather on the original one, or a suede, these are a nubuck, and then they have the little satin tie, and I think these are a really good alternative. They look very similar to the real thing, however you get that look for less, and honestly I have to say I'm actually just really glad that I decided to bite the bullet and buy these ones as opposed to the more expensive ones, just because I think these are as good and they've sated my appetite for this particular style of shoe. Now I have another dupe from Bianco that I thought I would just slide in here, and it's a dupe for the Balenciaga knife mule or knife heels. These I think are a bit of a polarizing shoe because they have that extremely pointed toe which feels very reminiscent of the 80s. I love the little bow detail though on the vamp. I think that that's really what elevates the shoe. Bianco had a dead ringer for this style, and I think it's much more affordable and a good way to bite into that trend if that is something that you really want to do. I really love the shoes that they've got in the nude, which I'm going to put up here. I have tried those on and they were very comfortable, and actually I think really flattering too, because with the extreme pointed toe it really does draw the eye down further and make your legs look a lot longer, especially if you're wearing a little mini skirt or something like that. Next, let's talk about Paul Andrew. Now you guys might know that I own a pair of the Paul Andrew rear heels. These are quite an expensive heel though for what it is. It's basically a slingback, and I know that there are heaps of affordable options out there. This particular shoe comes in a flat style as well, which I think is very chic, and I personally really love slingback style shoes as flats. I just think that they are very flattering, and I like the fact that they expose a little bit of your ankle. Now I found a really great dupe for these, and honestly they look bang on. They are from Jeffrey Campbell, and the ones that I found are in black, which I think is incredibly classic as well, so something that you'll have for a really long time to come. You actually probably wouldn't know that this was a dupe for a designer shoe if you weren't familiar with the Paul Andrew brand, which I think is a really nice thing as well. So it's not too flashy or overtly in your face, but yeah, I just think it's a really good alternative. Jeffrey Campbell shoes are really good quality as well, so you know that the shoe that you'll be getting is something you'll be able to wear for a long time. I've noticed that belly flats have started to become really popular, and I would say probably the brand that really stands out to me as one that has been, I guess, driving this trend is, I think I'm gonna butcher this, but Martaniano. think that's how you pronounce it. So the designer came out with what is called the glove shoe, and this is just a, I guess, very supple ballet flat which forms to the shape of your foot, and it's very iconic, kind of comes quite high up. The vamp is very long, so it comes quite high up your foot, so you don't get any toe cleavage or anything like that. But from what I understand, it's also a very comfortable shoe. The more affordable dupe that I have for this is from Maybelline, and it's their day gloves. So when I saw these, I immediately thought that they felt a little bit inspired by the original Martiniano, please tell me it's how you pronounce it properly, shoes, and I have to say they've got a lot of similar features. However, these are very, very lightweight, so you can just kind of bend them like this. I will say, from having had these for a while, and I've kind of really thrashed mine, is that they are definitely more suited for people who have got narrow feet. If I wear these for extended periods of time, then I do find that I get a lot of discomfort across the width of my foot because my feet are quite wide. So just a little pro tip, if you have been thinking about getting these, if you have narrow feet, they'll be perfect. If you have wide feet, you may like to give them a miss, but I do think they are a really good affordable alternative. I know there are some other options, so I will link them down in the description box as well, just because I've kind of seen, I guess, this flood of glove shoes coming out at the moment. Then I've got two more pairs of shoes that are designer dupes. So the first ones that I wanted to talk about are a dupe for the Vito Rossi Plexi pumps. I've seen so many other YouTubers and bloggers with these shoes. I personally haven't gotten on board with them just because I don't really like the idea of plastic in my shoes. However, I've heard that they're incredibly comfortable if you decide to go down the designer end of the spectrum. They are also really expensive though. So essentially they have a leather backing at the heel, and then they've got a leather pointed toe, and then they've got the clear plexi detail across the foot. So I think it's supposed to have a really leg lengthening effect. Now, a brand called Leaf have a really affordable alternative which basically look exactly the same. So again, if you want to get that designer look for less, then it's a really good way to go. The final pair of shoes that I wanted to mention is, I would say, a very heavily inspired take on the Hermes Oran heeled sandals. I've had these on my wish list for a while now. I think they are undeniably chic. They're very, very classic, but again, they do come with that really high price tag. The ones that I found are actually from a brand called Marc Fisher. I have a pair of boots from them, and they are incredibly high quality. I am so impressed with them, and they're a shoe that I really enjoy wearing. So I really only have love for the brand, and they have done their own take on this Oran sandal, and I think that it's a pretty close match actually. The only thing it doesn't really have is, I guess, those cutout details, the exact same cutout details as you get on the Hermes sandal, but I do think it is a way that you kind of introduce that look and that very, very top end of the spectrum designer look into your wardrobe for a much lower price point. I think I'll talk about a few clothing dupes now before I move into the final accessories dupes. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is a dupe for the Realisation Par leopard print skirt. Now, this is something that I feel like every blogger has. It's a bit of a blogger classic, but I think it's a classic for a reason. Leopard print doesn't really date. It comes back and around every single season, and I definitely think it's something worth adding to your wardrobe. The one that I've got is no longer available. This is from White Valentine, and I've said this before, but I wouldn't recommend this one. But I found a really good dupe from Aqua, which is a reasonable price as well. It's, I would say, less than half the price of the Realisation Par one, and it has that same feel and fit as well. So a good one if you're on a little bit more of a budget. Then I've got a couple of dupes for two tops that I have in my wardrobe, which are on the, I guess, more expensive end of the spectrum. So the first top is one I purchased as part of my 5 items for summer, and this is a little, I guess it's kind of like a cotton gauze top with a pin tuck pleat detailing at the chest or collar here from Nilly Lowton. And you guys really love this, but a lot of you mentioned how expensive this is, and I agree. I waited until I was able to get a bit of a discount on it before I actually decided to buy it, and I've seen a really good dupe for this on ASOS. So I'm gonna link that down below. It isn't exactly the same, but it has that same look and feel, and I think it's a great way to get that look for less. It is, I think it's under $60, so a really good buy. And then the other one that I wanted to mention is my Elizabeth and James pleated top, which you guys know I absolutely adore this thing. It's one of my favorite tops in my wardrobe. I love the knife pleat detail, which kind of, I guess, fans out into a slightly wider pleat at the bottom. Again, I found dupes for this on ASOS. I actually found two. So one is this top in black, and it kind of has that exact same vibe, and then the other one is a white version. It's not exactly the same, but does have that same sort of, I guess, feel to this, and is a great way that you can kind of incorporate that style into your wardrobe without having to break the bank. Then I've just got a few accessories, so I thought I'd touch on a jewelry accessory first. So one thing that I've seen on the very high end of the spectrum is these Chanel earrings, and they say Chanel. Nell, and I'm gonna put a picture here so you guys can see. And I feel like that style of earring is something that's becoming a bit of a trend. They're really kind of gaudy and out there and a little bit in your face, and if you love that look, then I saw a really fun pair at J. Crew which are much more affordable. They're not gonna break the bank, but they are gonna give you that really fun, I guess, huge statement earring look for a fraction of the designer price tag. The next item I wanted to talk about is my Acne Studios scarf. There's the Canada scarf. I've had this one here now for 5 years and I absolutely adore it. However, I do know that the price is pretty high. It's pretty up there. So I have found a couple of dupes which I think are pretty bang on in terms of the look and feel of this. One is from COS and the other one is from And Other Stories. So I think if you want to get something that is still good quality but that is a fraction of the price tag for this one here costs around the $280 mark now. I think it's gone up. I think I paid $220 for this originally, so I mean, it's not much of a price hike when you think about other designer items, but it's still $60 more expensive over 5 years. I'm going to link those down below because I think they're really fantastic alternatives. Then I've got a couple of bag dupes that I wanted to mention, and the first one was one that I spotted when I was walking through Pitt Street Mall last week, and it was in the window of Seed Heritage. I always find they actually do some really good designer dupes. Definitely a brand worth looking at if you want to get something that kind of has that high-end look and feel. So I found a really good dupe for the Chloe test bag, which I feel is kind of the it bag of the moment. So if you aren't familiar with it, I'm going to put the original Chloe test bag picture here. Basically, Chloe is really good at creating it bags every single season. They're always really popular and they seem to be ones that, while I wouldn't say they have longevity, they do stick around for a while. You still see people with the Chloe Drew and it's still a bag that they sell, as well as the Faye style as well, which were really popular, I want to say maybe 5 to 7 years ago. I thought the one from Seed Heritage was a really good alternative that isn't going to cost you $2,500 to $3,000, and it's a great way to kind of inject that designer feel into your outfit without having to spend the designer price tag. The final item that I wanted to mention is one that I purchased myself for the very reason that it looked like the designer actual bag, and it is a dupe for the Celine. It's a Celine purse bag. I'm going to put the original one here. The dupe that I bought is from Oroton, and I really love the way that this looks. So essentially it's very vintage looking, or it's very vintage inspired, which I suppose is probably where Phoebe got the inspiration for the Celine bag. I love the little metal closure or opening that just snaps open, and it also comes with 2 straps. The one I purchased was in the mock croc leather, however it does come in smooth leather as well, and I like the fact that you can change out the chain straps. So you can take this off and you can put on, I guess they've got these really cool acrylic straps which look neat with it as well, but I thought that this was a really nice high quality alternative to the Celine one. It is still on the slightly more expensive end of the spectrum. I managed to buy mine during a spend and save, however it is going to set you back a little bit more than a bag from Seed Heritage, for example, but I do think it is a good option and at least nowhere near the Celine price tag. So those are a roundup of some of my favorite designer shoe dupes, clothing dupes and accessories dupes, so you can get that premium look for a much lower price point and not necessarily break the bank, which is always a good thing in my books. As I said at the start of this video, every single item that I featured or mentioned will be linked down in the description box below, so you can find everything down there. Just make sure you click the show more button. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys again tomorrow with a brand new video. See you then. Bye.